Welcome back to another episode of the Big Dreams, Great Teams podcast. I'm Paula Maidens, your hiring strategist and leadership consultant, and today we're tackling a topic that's critical for small businesses with small teams, and that's how to know if your team is truly productive and how that productivity will link directly into your profitability. So productivity is something that every single one of my clients wants, talks about, and is focused on. And it's particularly important for businesses with like 3, 5, and up to 10 people. It's so much more than just getting things done or getting your team to get things done. It's about maximizing the efficiency. So maximizing the way they get it done. So frankly, your bottom line improves. Now, this is relevant to every single one of my clients. So I know it's also relevant to you. And that's what we're diving into today. We're going to talk about 5 ways that you can measure productivity, and I'll be giving you loads of real examples that will show you how productivity can and will directly impact your bottom line. Let's go. Okay, so let's start first of all talking about clear goals and KPIs. Now, the question is, do you have these? Now, it's not the first time you have heard me talk about this, and that is because clear goals and clear KPIs, so key performance indicators, which is a way that you and the person on your team can track how they're going towards those goals. These are your roadmap to success when it comes to having a rockstar team who are effective, efficient, and productive. Because if your team doesn't know what they're working towards, then how can they possibly get from A to B in a straight line? And it's this concept of getting from A to B in a straight line without unnecessary bends and turns and tangents. This is the key to being productive. And similarly, without a clear target, so knowing that we're at A and we are making our way to B, it's very difficult for you to make a clear link between someone on your team, an individual's effort, and how they're linking to your productivity. So let's look at some examples. Let's say you run a marketing firm and you've got 6 employees. Let's say one of your employees, Sarah, has KPIs to create 3 high engagement social media posts every week. Now, let's say you've even defined what high engagement means. Maybe you've said a number of comments or you've said a certain reach. So you've defined what high engagement is in your business. Now, let's say that Sarah consistently hits that target and the posts lead to increased website traffic and new client inquiries. What you've done there is set up her benchmark for productivity by defining how many posts that you want her to create each week, how many posts should happen each week. And you've created a direct link between how that work, the effort that she's putting in, what she's producing, will lead to increased revenue in your business and ultimately profit through looking at, well, those posts need to have engagement, and that engagement will mean web traffic and new inquiries. So let's switch to an unproductive version of someone on that team. Now let's imagine that Dave, who's another designer, let's say he doesn't have clear KPIs. He produces, and I've got my fingers up in air quotes, he produces as many posts as he can each week, which means sometimes it's 1 post and sometimes it's 4 posts. And he creates the post based on what he feels is relevant or what he feels is interesting to him each week. This means the posts aren't consistent. However, you know he's always trying hard. So you get this sense of, this week he's done 1 post, this week he's done 4. And you know he's trying hard because he always seems busy. He's always at his desk. He's always got his head down. He doesn't seem distracted. And he might even always appear stressed. But the reality of the work that he's producing is the topics of the posts vary and they don't align with any one specific goal. So that he's not clear on the point B that he's trying to get to. And that means that sometimes his call to action is go to the website. And sometimes he thinks, well, this post doesn't need a call to action. So sometimes the engagement is high and sometimes the engagement is low. So you can see here that without the clear direction of KPIs and a clear goal, Dave is busy, but he's not productive. And it would be difficult for you to see that direct link between the effort, what he's doing on a daily basis, and your revenue, your growth, and ultimately your profitability. So, when your team has clear goals, their productivity becomes measurable and you can track how their effort is driving that profitability or your bottom line. Now, without that direct link, without that effort converting into inquiries, converting into revenue, and ultimately helping your profitability, then you're potentially missing out on revenue opportunities. And when you can work out the link between effort and activity and revenue and profitability, then you can suddenly see how to scale, how to sort of dial it up. When you work out if we do 3 posts a week at this engagement, then we get this number of inquiries and this number of conversions and it equals this profit. That's when you can work out how to scale because you can increase the effort by hiring someone new, adding someone else in, knowing the formula that links to profitability and revenue. Okay, so let's move on to the second measurable way that you can look at the productivity in your business. Now, that is quality of work. Now, it's not just about how much your team gets done, but it's also how well they do it. Because poor quality will mean rework, it'll mean, wasted time and wasted money. And let's look at some examples. Let's say you've got a small IT services company and you've got a technician, let's call him Mark, who solves his clients' questions, issues, inquiries really efficiently. He rarely gets stuck or blows out the amount of time that he spends on any one client. And the clients rarely call back with the same problem. So he's moving through the work at a good pace. He's not getting stuck on a client and they're not coming back to reopen the issue. So this is high quality work, which in turn reduces the amount of repeat calls. So the client calling back again, it allows you as a business to take on more clients, which in turn will boost your profits. Let's flip to an opposite situation of something that looks a little bit less productive. Let's call the other technician Emily. So let's say that Emily rushes through her client issues to solve their problems, but the clients often ring back because they realize that the problem isn't actually resolved. So this means that someone else in the business has to spend time reopening the file and spend their time reviewing what Emily did, why it didn't work, and refixing it, which means that there's extra money and time being put into either a mistake or reviewing the work or working out what's actually happened. Hence, it's cutting into your profits. So the productivity in this case is coming from the work quality, and the link to your profitability is the high quality work will increase the customer satisfaction. It'll reduce the costs associated with any sort of rework or fixing mistakes. And in turn, that means your profit margins will be improved. Whereas poor quality work will drag down your profitability through wasted resources, either reworking mistakes, opening things up, or the person needing to do the thing again. Okay, let's move on to the third way that you can review and measure the productivity in your team. And that is whether the job is getting done in a timely way. So, timely delivery is when your team is consistently meeting deadlines, which means ultimately you're able to take on more projects and earn more revenue. So let's say you've got a construction business and let's call the project manager Jake. Let's say that Jake finishes projects either on or ahead of schedule, which means that the business, your business, could confidently take on more clients and book more clients in behind each job, knowing that there won't be delays, and you're able to do that in a confident way. This means you can plan your capacity well, you can reduce the amount of fat or margin that you need to allow between projects, and when a job finishes early, if there's extra space, you can actually generate more income by squeezing a new shorter job in. Now let's look at a different example. Let's say that the other project manager is John, and John is constantly missing deadlines, clients get frustrated, and projects are delayed. So new projects are delayed from starting because the existing projects are also being blown out and delayed. Now, you don't want to lose the new clients because of the delay of the existing project. So let's say that you end up paying your team overtime to get the work done, or you go and pay new people to come in and support the team to get the work done, which of course, this extra money spent on resourcing eats into your profit margin. So you can see really clearly here that the productivity, as in the timeliness, meeting deadlines, the timely delivery of the work, is a huge productivity factor because effective project management when the project is underway, but also in the project planning phase, is key to the productivity piece here. And the link to profitability is because timely delivery makes clients happy. It allows you to effectively plan your resources, plan your projects, book people in with confidence, book the next job in with confidence. And with experience, you'll probably be able to shorten your project timelines, which means more capacity, more jobs, more revenue. So all these things have this impact of increasing your revenue potential and therefore increasing your profitability potential as well. And the flip side, of course, is when deadlines are missed, you're looking at lost income, increased costs, which narrows those profit margins right down. Okay, let's go on to the fourth one, which is team collaboration. Now, this is really interesting because this can sometimes feel less tangible than the three previous measures that we've talked about. But the reality is, the black and white reality is, when your team collaborates well, you don't get the bottlenecks in your business, which in turn makes things more efficient and will keep costs at bay and increase the flow of revenue through your business. So let's look at some examples to see how this comes into play. Let's say that we've got a design agency, and let's say we've got an account manager whose name is Megan. Now, Megan works with Alex, who's the designer, and let's say she also works with Jane, who's the copywriter. Let's say the way they collaborate is that they brainstorm together, they solve issues quickly, they get really clear on what they need to do up front, so their communication is great. They listen to each other, they ask questions, they get the clarity that they need, and then ultimately they get on with delivering the projects and they deliver it on time or ahead of time. This efficiency means that projects can be planned out really well, and ultimately more projects can be completed. Happy clients will return, which means you can deliver to a client without having to, re-spend a high marketing cost to get new clients the whole time when happy clients are returning. So all these things are boosting your revenue and they're boosting your profit. Now let's look at the opposite way of working. Let's say if Alex and Jane didn't communicate very well. Let's say if parts of the project got delayed and people were putting their heads in the sand and they weren't admitting that there was a problem and they weren't leaning on each other for support in solving the problem. Let's say that they're not talking enough. Let's say they're not getting clear upfront enough. So their communication is poor. This often means that the project will slow down. The work that's produced won't meet the client's needs. Rework will be done and you'll have a less happy client. Not to mention project timelines have blown out. So wasted time, fewer projects on the go, less customer satisfaction means overall higher costs for your business. So you can see that the concept of team collaboration can feel intangible, but actually its effect is very tangible. So effective team collaboration will speed up your project completion. It will improve the quality of your work that is produced the first time, so no rework needed or less rework needed, which will directly impact your costs and therefore your profitability. Last measure that I want to talk about, the fifth one, is engagement. Now, the black and white reality is that engaged employees are simply more motivated to do their best work, and often part of that best work is bringing ideas to the table to improve your processes, which have the knock-on effect of improving your profits. So let's look at an example. Let's say we've got Rachel. Rachel's your accountant. And not only is she diligent in completing her daily tasks in an efficient way, but she's also curious about whether there's a way to invoice better using different software. And she suggests how that different software might save her hours each week. Now, that time saved can be spent on more profitable tasks or maybe not spent at all, which means an increase to your bottom line. But now let's flip that around and let's say you've got another team member. Let's call him Kevin, who's a bit disengaged. He's doing the bare minimum. He's doing the same job as Rachel, but he's doing it in a bare minimum way. He doesn't look to improve processes. And although he's completing his tasks, he's fine, but he lacks initiative. And what's really interesting is that him lacking initiatives and not looking for ways to improve is actually an opportunity cost to you, because you're not hearing about the opportunities, you're not hearing about ways to become more efficient. He's just doing the same things that he's always done without looking for ways to improve. So, an engaged employee, they'll think about your whole business. They'll think about how what they're doing fits into the bigger picture. They won't just execute their job. And this motivation to do and think will lead to work being done in a more efficient way and creating space that will allow them to be innovative, to look for ways to improve, which in turn will then, layer on and continue to improve efficiencies and in turn your profit. So this is a really interesting one, because a disengaged employee might actually be doing their job. They might feel fine, but they're just not going above and beyond. They're not contributing to the growth. And what it's often easy to overlook is that they're actually sometimes limiting your business's ability to scale by just doing the status quo, by just doing the bare minimum. And these are the people that often I see with my clients. They kind of go, that person's okay. They're not awesome. They're not really doing their job badly enough to warrant a change, but they're not doing their job well enough that they're, showing initiative and suggesting improvements. And often it's easy to overlook that opportunity cost. So they're actually costing your business money potentially through the opportunities that you're not seeing by that person being the one who's sitting there doing the things without thinking or going beyond. Okay, so there you have it. In summary, we've gone through 5 ways that you can measure and assess if your team is productive and if they're as productive as what they could be. We've talked about clear goals and KPIs, quality of work, timely delivery, team collaboration, and the last one was employee engagement levels. So remember, when you're thinking about productivity, remember it's not just about whether your team are getting things done. It's about looking at whether those efforts are aligning with profitability and knowing that every time your team hits a target or misses a target, produces high quality versus low quality, or whether they're communicating well and collaborating or not, all these things are either benefiting or hurting your bottom line. So I really hope you found today's episode practical and helpful. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. If you have found this episode helpful, please share it with another small business owner who could benefit from hearing about how they can review, assess, and ultimately boost their team's productivity. And as always, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to hear questions or topic suggestions or just thoughts about how your productivity is going in your business. Okay, that's it from me. Until next time, have fun.